This is the Tame Aperture podcast.
Open the pod bay doors, Cal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Welcome to the Tame Aperture podcast, where we talk all things movies from first-time directors, indie, art house, and much, much more. Today on the podcast, we dive deep into the 1973 directorial debut from Terrence Malick titled Badlands, starring Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. In this neo-noir period drama that is loosely based on the real-life murder spree of Charles Starkweather and his girlfriend Carol Ann, teenager Holly, played by Spacek, angers her father when she begins dating an older, rebellious boy played by Martin Sheen. After a conflict between Holly and her father erupts in murder, the young lovers are forced to flee. In the ensuing crime spree, they journey through the Midwest to the Badlands of Montana, eluding authorities along the way. Malick began work on the film during his second year attending the American Film Institute, and principal photography took place in Colorado in the summer of 1972. The film premiered as the closing film of the New York Film Festival in 1973 and was revered by many and was eventually purchased and distributed by Warner Brothers. Malick would go on to direct Days of Heaven, The Thin Red Line, and The Tree of Life. I'm Gabe Bienendahl, filmmaker, film instructor, and movie enthusiast. And with me, as always, veteran podcaster and editor, Alan Martindale. Alan, how the hell are you today?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great.
Terrence
I like
Malick.
this. Yeah, Terrence Malick.
Yeah.
Poetry in imagery.
Totally. I'm total confession here. This is the first Terrence Malick movie I've ever seen.
You never went to see Tree of Life?
No, I never
You never
did.
saw the Thin Red Line?
I don't think so.
That's a pretty popular one,
I
too.
know.
Of all his films, that's probably the most, I would say, most popular.
There were a couple. I looked at his filmography. There were a couple on there that sounded familiar, but I don't recall seeing them. So it's possible, but I don't think so.
The Thin Red Line is a great movie. It's really
That's what I hear.
When it comes to war movies, and it's just really, really
Yeah.
well done. Some of his stuff, I remember seeing The Tree of Life in theaters, the one with Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
It's filmed here in Utah. A lot of
was it?
Yeah, a lot of it was. Some parts of it at least in the Salt Flats and things like that. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything he's done is gorgeous.
The imagery is amazing. But The Tree of Life was a little high end for me.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
But here we're talking about Badlands. This is his directorial debut. One thing in doing that research, as I read in the opener there, he started kind of working on this and prepping on this during his second year at AFI.
Oh, did he? Well, and that's...
which is cool. I mean, that means...
It doesn't feel like a student made this
Not
movie.
at all.
At all.
Not at all. Last week, we talked about The Loveless.
Yes, we did.
You know what we're going to start calling The Loveless? We'll start calling The Loveless the film that shall not be named.
I like that because, oh, God. I mean, you just say the name and it just sucks the energy out of the room. It's just such a boring fucking movie. It's so boring.
It's bad.
It's pointless.
And it's the directorial debut of Catherine Bigelow and Monty Montgomery.
The uber famous Monty Montgomery.
The enigmatic Monty Montgomery. He sounds like a cartoon character.
He totally does.
But in all honesty, really, what's interesting about Badlands is if you think about Malick, he's still in school, and I don't know if that was a graduate degree or undergraduate. It doesn't matter, but nonetheless, he's prepping this film. And you're right, when you watch this film, in no way, shape, or form, for me, and I agree with you, did I ever feel like I had that student vibe to it. Right, it didn't feel like it felt like these training wheels were off.
For sure. Well, and I went into it fully expecting it because, we've done enough of these shows now where when you say the first time feature director, I'm starting to get the idea in my head that it's going to be pretty rough.
Yeah.
And
with the exception of a few.
We did
Being John Malkovich and some of those, and this one also. But you're right. You're always going, okay.
Yeah. And it
temper the expectation.
And I wasn't sure because I went in totally blind. Didn't know what this movie was about. Had no idea what was going to happen in it. And I was right at the beginning. I'm starting to think, oh, maybe this might be another one of these movies. But it's much, much better than those movies.
The thing about this one, too, even in the beginning, and even though it's just kind of normal, we see Martin Sheen's character who basically, he's a garbage man. right? So, and it seems very kind of mundane in the beginning, but even with kind of the simplicity of what's happening, it's just showing him going around picking up garbage. And he's not just picking it up. He's actually, what's kind of funny to me is he's trying to sell it. He's trying to find things that he can resell that people had thrown away, which I actually love. I think it's hilarious. I think that's a great little insight into his character. But essentially, his character Kit. But what I kind of sidetracked there. What I was getting at is that even though it's kind of mundane and simple, is that it's the cinematography is beautiful.
Oh, for sure.
And especially towards the end, it's filmed just.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
And Martin Sheen, I don't know how he does this, but because the character's a dullard. He's he's an idiot.
Yes.
And he's not very charming, but for some reason...
He is that, well...
He is. And I don't know how Martin Sheen did it, because I watch him and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to drive me crazy. But every line that comes out of his mouth, I think is great.
He kind of falls, he's not quite at the Nicholson level, but he's also in that same era. But as an actor, we've had these great actors in previous podcasts, and even if the movies were a failure, we had Harvey Keitel, and Jack Nicholson, and there were these actors that could just, of that era, those 60s and 70s, that they're really just, it's a weird thing. You don't find that as often today.
No, not at all.
Not that you can't find it, but you don't find, he is kind of a treasure in a way in terms of acting.
For sure. If I had never seen him in another thing, I would think that he was this idiot kid.
Yeah.
I would think that's him.
But even though the character's kind of painted, the character itself is built as kind of a schlum. He's just kind of whatever. Like you said, he makes the character charming and intriguing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and he thinks he's super smart too. That's always kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like when someone's really stupid, but they fancy themselves an intellectual, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. They act as an academic even though they don't know what they're talking about.
Like when he's digging through the trash and he sees he sees a piece of paper and he says, "This lady's got to start paying her bills. She's going to get in trouble." It's almost this thing like, I know so much more better than her.
Yeah.
And then just even the way that he dumps the garbage into the garbage truck and then he just kind of throws the can. Like, to me, that's funny. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I know
funny.
exactly what you're saying.
It's hilarious.
Like, you would think if he's on top of a job, part of the job even, it would be like to make sure that last can gets in the garbage truck.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But it's very simple to start. It's kind of, it sounds really kind of silly, but it's kind of sweet how it starts with just kind of slow and simple and mundane. And even though, and so it kind of, it pulled me in a little bit, like I'm kind of interested in this kind of guy who's just aimlessly wandering and has no real direction, but it still has he's kind of intriguing.
For sure.
He's kind of intriguing, and what's going to happen to this guy.
Yeah, it's fun to just see his misadventures.
And so his character goes on. He's just a normal garbage guy searching for scraps to sell. And then one thing I want to mention while we're talking about the cinematography, and we might touch back on this later, is it's so beautifully shot that I had to look at the DP. I had to find out who had shot this film for Terrence Malick. All of Terrence Malick's films are so poetically done. The images are beautiful. And if you watch any of his films, they kind of have that vibe, right? And there's some different photographers of this particular film, but one of the main photographers is Tak Fujimoto. And I was looking at his body of work, and he's got this beautiful body of work. And all the stuff he's done is exceptional. Something more notably, a lot of the M. Night Shyamalan films like The Sixth Sense, The Silence of the Lambs, like he's got a big portfolio. He shot this film beautifully.
Well, from what I understand, I've read a little bit about this movie, and I guess it was a nightmare to make. And they had 3 cinematographers because the first 2 left because they bailed.
Do we know which one that was?
I want to say Tak was the assistant like the first AC or something like
Yeah.
that, and then he took over when the first guy left, and then Talk bailed when things got difficult too.
Because he, this is credited as his first feature film as a DP, or credited as cinematography.
Yeah, I don't know if he was a first AC, but he was in the camera department.
Yeah.
And when the DP left, he took over for a short amount of time.
Well, looking at his body of work, he did a hell of a job, and the others did too.
Yeah.
But beautifully shot. So immediately, like you said, it doesn't feel, for a kid that's never made a feature film before, and Malick's still in college, basically, like, for a budget, and by the way, the estimated budget on this is $300,000.
And I know he had investors, but it also sounds like cast and crew weren't paid very much at all.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was a really tough production, which is interesting because it doesn't at all it feels seamless.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like crew's bailing and jumping on board, and it doesn't feel like there's discontinuity anywhere.
Yeah, sometimes if there's conflict on set, it bleeds its way into the picture.
Yeah, for sure.
In this case, you would have never you wouldn't know that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that speaks a lot to Terrence Malick and his talent and his ability to get things done.
Yeah, at all costs. At the end
For
of the
sure.
day, he still has his vision, and he's going to put it together whether anyone supports him or
He's
doesn't.
gonna make it happen.
He's going to make it happen. And so and he also, and Malick's credited as a writer, director, and producer of the film. There's a lot of responsibility to take on that first role. I read somewhere too that he had put in $25,000 of his own money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So he had found some investment, but also had put in $25,000 of his own. So he was really all in.
Well, I think he was an uncredited editor as well.
Yeah. What had happened? Yeah, I had read this too. And what had happened was the editor had laid out the first cut, and Malick didn't like it, so he fired him off the production. And then him and another guy, and I don't remember his name, they edited it, but then the other guy got the credit as the editor, but ultimately Malick was behind the wheel there too.
Yeah.
More so than a normal director would even be, like literally
For sure.
editing himself.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a first swing.
For sure. It almost feels like a Robert Rodriguez type thing. He's just wearing all hats, just taking care of business, doing whatever
I love
he
it
needs to do.
too, because it's almost like there's a confidence in yourself.
Yes.
What we find out later, this is 1973, but if you flash forward 30 to today, he's regarded. I mean, Terrence Malick's regarded when it comes to filmmaking auteurism, which is like what I mean by that is his artistic ability to make films in a very not in a stylistic but a very very distinct way that's highly regarded across not just but everywhere.
Yeah.
He's definitely that auteur. So like you said, whatever it takes to get it done. But back into this particular film, like Martin Sheen does a great job kind of bringing us into the story, intriguing us a little. He leaves they're out there collecting garbage. He's trying to resell it. He's just doing kind of clumsy stuff throughout the whole thing. And then the next scene, ultimately, he sees this young girl in front of her house playing with the baton, and he goes and starts talking to her.
Yep.
And it is a little creepy.
For sure.
Because even though you haven't established ages yet, you know that he's significantly older than her.
Well, and she's twirling a baton like a child, you know?
So you immediately go, she's what, junior high school?
Right.
And we come to find out that her character is, I want to say 15.
Yeah.
And then later in the story, it's divulged that he is 10 years. So he's 25.
He's 25 years old.
Hitting on a 15-year-old.
God, that's gross.
And it's really disturbing. This is kind of this weird, there's these undertones to these films, and you're going to hate me for this. I'll bring up The Loveless again. But like there's these
same thing.
Sexual undertones and of just really kind of rotten to the core men who kind of are predators.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is a weird
Well,
It always seems to find its way into the story in some degree.
in Kit, yeah, it does, and it's maybe this is a sign of the times. I'm not sure, but it does seem like a repeating theme that we see in these movies.
Yeah.
But Kit, it's a little bit different with Kit because it's creepy. Don't get me wrong; it's super creepy, but you don't get vibes where he, wishes any ill will.
It's also not in a forceful way.
Right.
And not that I'm condoning it,
Right.
but it's different when it becomes pure aggression.
Exactly.
Not that it's good, but
For sure.
it's a different vibe.
Absolutely. Definitely.
So he hits on Holly, and essentially this kind of starts a romance between the two, and he kind of falls. I would say he really kind of just falls head over heels for her.
Yeah.
In the beginning, he kind of, and she's. I think what's makes it more disturbing too is she's so young that there's a naivete,
Absolutely.
and she just kind of goes with it. I think
he basically says, "Follow me." He doesn't say those words, but it just felt like, "Hey, follow me." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
yeah,
whatever you say."
yeah.
It's creepy. It's super
And
creepy.
They start talking, and he starts telling her what he does for a living, and he starts talking about her father. Hey, would your dad mind if I
Right.
came over or whatever? And she's like, yeah, he probably would. But that doesn't stop him.
Nope.
It's a weird kind of innocent, clumsy relationship to start. Because he's so aimlessly wandering through life, he's trying to find something.
For sure.
And when he finds Holly, that's that thing. In the next scene, he basically gets fired from his garbage truck
Because he just
job.
walked off the job.
Because he just walked off in the previous scene.
He just said, "I've picked up enough garbage today. I'll see you later." And it's almost like he doesn't understand that you can't just do that.
Yeah, that character. The more we're going through that, it makes me wonder what's going through his mind, and it kind of foreshadows some of his later
For sure.
attempts on things that he does.
It's like he just does things and doesn't understand that there are going to be consequences for those actions.
Yeah. He gets fired. He goes and gets a job for the local ranch. Kind of, it's not herding cattle, but he's working on the local ranch. And in the meantime, basically getting close to Holly.
Well, and let me back up a little bit here because there was one moment I wanted to mention, and it's in the opening scene with when they're picking up the garbage and they see the dead dog.
Yeah.
And he says, "I'll pay $1 to eat this." And the guy's reaction is the best. Like, "I'm not gonna eat that for $1."
For $1.
Yeah. But it sets up. There's a lot of dead animals in this movie.
It's funny. I wrote the same
A lot
note.
of them, and there's a lot of. Like, even the scenes with the cows and I don't really understand exactly what they're doing to the cows, but when he gets the job on the ranch and they're putting him in the cage and he's got to, like, kind of crank down the thing on their neck, like, it's pretty brutal. There's a lot of animal cruelty, too.
There's some brutality to it, and they're shoving the pipe down the throat.
And I don't know what the
of the
pipe is.
cattle.
I don't know what the point is.
I was wondering, is it some kind of like, are they pumping it with vitamins or steroids? Or,
Right.
I'm not sure.
But they were really doing it. I mean, that was not.
Or is it poison? Because in a later scene, one of the cows is dead.
Yeah, and he just jumps on top of it. And
He starts like, yeah. But that's an interesting thing, and I like that you brought it back to that because from the very get-go, it's painted in terms of the imagery with death, right? So, and that becomes a pretty prominent theme throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And you're right, we see that a lot kind of juxtaposed with the different animals. There's the dog and the cow, and then later there's a dead fish that comes into play. And
There's a couple dead dogs in here.
a couple dead dogs.
Yeah.
I will get to that one because I always found that like a very disturbing scene with the father.
Yeah.
But he gets fired. He gets fired from his job. He goes to like we mentioned, he goes to the cattle ranch, and we mentioned some of the things that happen there. There's these I kind of like them. I like how they do it. Now, one of the things that the structures and how they tell the story is they use like a first-person narration with Holly. So Holly's kind of in almost like a journal type fashion, going over various points of exposition and kind of what's building between Kit and her and what's happening as we're seeing some of things transpire through maybe small montages and things like that.
Well, I enjoyed the narration too because it wasn't just pure exposition. It actually helped us understand Kit's character as well.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, what's her name?
Holly.
And also what was going through Holly's mind.
Yeah.
And kind of also I don't want to call it manipulation because I don't feel like Kit was trying to manipulate her. I just think she was easily swayed by an older person who is telling her he knows what's going on. He's got his shit together type of thing.
Yeah.
And she just believes him because she's just a child.
It's a sense of like gullibility.
Right. She's naive.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think that's the thing that I was alluding to, which is like this narration allows us to kind of follow it as if we were reading a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just, but I mean, it's actually things that are happening and feelings and emotions and things that are going on between the two of them. And it's kind of an insight into the story. And I agree. I like how they did it. And they also combine it quite nicely with like little montages of like, it's just pieced together really well, like structurally. Some of these films that we've talked about in the past they're sloppily done.
Definitely.
They're just like thrown together, where this is very intentful all the way through.
Yeah.
And part of that is through this narration. I had read somewhere too where someone had compared it to almost like a romance novel from the perspective of Holly.
It
like,
kind of felt that way.
It's kind of, she very much romantically with her googly eyes in terms of being a naive girl talks about Kit.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he looks like James Dean. She said he was the most gorgeous person she'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And she's smitten immediely. She's swooning for him.
Yep. Absolutely.
She's crushing hard, man.
She's crushing hard.
I learned that phrase from my kids.
That's it. We're getting those millennials.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're not even millennials.
No, they're not.
They're younger. What's the one after millennials?
Oh God, I can't remember. But they're adamant that they're not millennials. They're adamant.
Millennials get a bad rap.
I agree. I'm a millennial.
I mean, I don't know when it comes in technically. I thought it said 1981. I might be right on the fringe.
Yeah, see, I'm right on the fringe of
I'm
the
1980,
Gen Y and millennial, I think. But
I don't care about any of that.
It's not a thing.
No, it's just made up.
It's not a real thing.
It's not real.
No, it's not.
Doesn't even make sense.
I could go on for hours.
I know.
About
We could go off on a whole nother tangent. But when it comes to Badlands, so yeah, he's definitely robbing the cradle. Her dad doesn't like it.
No.
Which
understandable.
Completely understandable.
Very understandable.
So, but Kit kind of tries to approach the father, and he kind of tries to do it in a gentlemanly way.
Yeah, it's almost like he doesn't understand that this is an inappropriate relationship.
This is where his doofus side comes in.
He's just a dullard. He's just kind of an idiot, and he just doesn't. He's like, this is what you do, right? You go meet the father and you talk to him.
And her dad is a sign painter, and he goes to one of the jobs and is like, "Hey," he's basically like, "I like your daughter,
right?
And can I be with her?" And the dad's like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Shut it. Yeah.
This is all paraphrasing.
Right.
It doesn't say anything. The movie's actually rated PG.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, with some of the content, you know, he paints it real cleanly when you think about the content, which we'll get into in just a minute, but in the depth and the rawness of what's happening. Malick does a good job making it very kind of watered down in a sense. But Kit goes to the dad and the dad's like, "No, you can't. Matter of fact, not only can you not be with my daughter, but get out of here forever."
Right. Right.
That doesn't sit well.
No.
With Kit.
He doesn't like being told what to do.
It's funny though, because when he leaves, he's like, "All right." It's for someone who eventually becomes a spree killer.
Right.
He's not
angry
or confrontational.
No,
in a sense,
he's
not even confrontational.
No, he just doesn't. And this is kind of my theory with all the dead animals. And you know, as he becomes a spree killer later, it almost feels like these people aren't any more. It's not any different than a dead animal on the side of the road. It just feels like it's just something to look at, something to do.
Yeah.
And
so
and obviously we can talk about that a little bit later. But he just kind of goes about his he just doesn't like when people try to put limits on him. And he doesn't react violently or violently, but he doesn't react in an angry way. He just kind of just deals with it however he sees fit at that moment and deals with the consequences later.
Because ultimately, and just to jump backwards a hair, he consummates the relationship with Holly.
Yeah.
Before he goes and asks the dad about, hey, can I be... So he's already had sex with her. That scene's kind of... And of course, you don't see any of it. It's all PG, but like it's very funny afterwards. I thought it was. I laughed.
Oh, for sure.
Because she goes, was that it? Is that what everyone talks about? He's like, yeah.
Yep.
And it was just like so...
Just like everything else, just no big deal.
But it felt kind of natural. It felt kind of real. It didn't feel like they were trying to like spice up some romance.
This wasn't Titanic, you know?
No, and I loved that. I thought it was great. And she was funny. The thing about Holly, too, is that even though she is gullible and young, she's still kind of not afraid to speak her mind in these moments of like, you know, he's joking around with her and he's like, oh, you can't do that, stupid. And she's like, don't call me stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this goes throughout the whole film. Like she's always she'll backbite a little bit for being a young kid who you think that you'd kind of quote unquote fall in line to this guy that is older than you and you kind of get ooh and ah over. She still kind of bites back a little.
And there's even one part in the narration that made me literally laugh out loud. Like I literally laughed when she said, you know, we got along pretty fine, you know, but then we'd have troubles and sometimes I'd want to see him drown in the river and watch him die.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You love him, but you want to watch him die.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's what I like about her is that ultimately her character is kind of intriguing for being so young. You still there's an intriguing element to her character that you can kind of attach to.
Definitely.
Know? But that is funny. The contradiction of really loving him and then because she'll applaud him in one moment and then the next moment. But that seems, once again, that's what I mean. Some of the ways that he's built the relationship between the two, I think Malick does a good job at making it feel real because we've all felt that where you're like one moment you're happy and the next moment you're like, drowned in the river.
Isn't it the most simplistic way of describing a relationship?
Yeah, the complete opposite ideas.
Because
the spectrum.
If you're a kid, you don't understand. You might not understand the nuances of, you know, I still love them, but they drive me crazy. It's like 1 second they're perfect, the next second you want to drown them in the river.
Yeah, I love it. But they've consummated the relationship. He's gone to the dad. The dad says no, absolutely not. And as a result of this thing, as the dad starts to figure out what's happening between Kit and Holly, he kills Holly's dog.
As punishment for seeing Kit.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
It's brutal.
I mean, I just don't even understand. Because the dad doesn't seem abusive.
No.
He seems like just a protective parent who's worried about his 15-year-old daughter screwing around with a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
But then it's like he shot my dog as punishment.
Yeah, which is... It seems a bit drastic.
Yeah. Can you imagine doing that to your kids?
No. But then again, if my daughter was dating a 25-year-old...
I might kill the 25-year-old.
I might kill the 25-year-old.
Yeah, I'm not going to kill the dog.
I'm not going to kill the dog because it's my dog.
Right.
But yeah, it seems a bit drastic. But it's kind of... You know what? It's Malick's way also of, like we just kind of mentioned, it's his way of painting in death. In a more morbid... It's funny because you almost get... Now, later on, Kit kills someone. We'll get into that. You're almost more mortified about him killing the dog than you are the people, which is not that I'm that kind of person, but just the way that he does it.
Well, the people, you can kind of see it coming.
Yeah.
The dog thing was just kind of thrown in there like, holy shit.
Good point. It seems so abrupt and so off note.
Right.
It was like, whoa, I didn't expect that.
Right.
Yeah. But it's painted with death in its own way and using animals. And then so after Kit gets the response from her father about, no, you can't be with my daughter. Kit doesn't listen. He politely walks off. He doesn't create a scuffle or anything. And then it goes to the scene of him, that he's in the house and he's just packing. He's in Holly's room. No one's home at the exact, and he's just packing her clothes in a suitcase.
He just kind of sneaks in, just does it.
And then it shows the father and Holly walk up the stairway and see him in the room.
Right.
And he's just packing her clothes.
And you know what? The dad was quite a bit more calm than I think I would be too.
Yeah, that was always...
he was forceful. It's not like he was okay with it. But
no.
I would have lost my goddamn mind.
If he was in the house...
Packing her suitcase?
Packing a suitcase? Yeah, I'd have lost my shit.
Yeah.
For sure. And he does get forceful and he says, look, all right, boy. I'm gonna call the authorities, you know.
Yep.
And then it Kit presents that he has a gun. It's always the gun coming into play.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know? Kit presents that he has a gun, and he's like, what you going to do with that? You know? And then this dialogue ensues, and then the father ultimately goes back downstairs. He's going to call the authorities and get Kit arrested, is his goal. And then you can kind of see it coming a little bit, because he's already pulled the gun. He's already showed it. The gun's on the table, so to speak.
Right.
And the father goes downstairs, and Kit runs right after him. And as soon as you know that Kit's following after him, you know that something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, he shoots the dad.
And to me, it kind of, you could see it coming, but it did escalate kind of fast. Because it was kind of like just a simple little love story. And again, I went into this thing totally blind, so I had no idea what it was about. And when he killed the dad, it was just the fact that it went that far. It was I don't want to say it was abrupt, but it surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, it did. One thing before that too that I neglected to mention that I thought was just a weird contrast was that when the dad had said no and tried to split them up by giving Holly clarinet lessons.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's like, here, Dad, or here, Holly, take clarinet lessons and stop dating this 25-year-old. I wasn't sure.
That'll fix it.
That'll fix the problem.
No problem.
But yeah, I think the death of the father, and it's weird too, because to me, this is the one part. I think the acting throughout the film's really good. The characters feel believable, and that chemistry between the two of them, it felt. I mean, Spacek and Sheen is great.
Yeah.
But there is the one scene where, and I'm trying to figure out, maybe it was intentful or intentional, and there was something deeper there that I wasn't gathering, because once the dad's shot, Holly almost seems unremorse.
Yeah.
There's no and I know that they didn't have the greatest relationship. You could kind of tell.
For sure.
But they also didn't have the most distant relationship either.
Right.
They just kind of sat in that middle ground. And it felt like if your dad had just been shot, there would have been more just distraught.
Yeah, and that was one thing I didn't quite understand, because she wasn't happy, but she wasn't sad. It was just, again, it's just like there's a dead animal on the side of the road. Just like, oh, I guess that happened.
And she also has this horrible line that she delivers when the dad gets shot. When she goes, "Daddy, it's me, Holly," or something like that.
What was I don't understand.
What? Is it trying to display that she's so young she doesn't understand death?
It might be.
In that regard, or didn't grasp the concept that her dad was now bleeding and dead?
It might be.
I thought this is the one moment, because I think Spacek kills it in the rest of the movie. The acting was just not on point.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a directorial thing or if it was a performance thing, but yeah, it didn't quite fit right. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't quite get the point. I mean, because both of them are clearly unaffected by death later on. Like they clearly don't really care.
I would only say that she kind of comes out of it a little bit more so than he does.
For sure.
But you're right. Neither of them, in the moments that things happen, are overly affected.
Right.
Yeah. Which is strange.
Well, even there's, some lady asks her at some point, like, what's going to happen to us? And she goes, oh, just have to ask Kit. Like, you might, basically saying you might live, you might die. I don't know.
Yeah.
And just doesn't seem to care.
But it's also like she's relinquishing the control or the feeling to Kit and letting him make those kind of decisions. But the father-daughter relationship isn't that strong, but you'd think it would have been strong enough for her to have more of a reactionary response of craziness. Like I'd been, but she just kind of goes with it.
Yeah.
In a way.
Killed my dad. All right.
All right. Okay. Now what do we do?
Take care of it.
And then Kit takes the body. I want to say it's down in the basement. Did he take it down in the basement, or is it the garage?
I think it's. I want to say the garage.
He moves the body either to the basement or the garage, and then, which I also don't get, and this must be with Malick films. I'm always, because you watch his Tree of Life, and there's so much subtext. I'm like, I might just go over my head.
Right.
But Kit takes the father's body to the garage or to the basement, and he comes back up and he found a toaster.
Yeah.
He's like, I found the toaster. And you're like, and it may just go back to what you were alluding to earlier, which is like, I can kill someone and then like think about, oh, here's the toaster maybe.
Yeah.
Like most obscure things that would seem insignificant. Oh, that.
Well, and I think that's why he's such a fascinating character to me, because it's not, I don't get the sense that he's a sociopath or a psychopath. Like, he doesn't enjoy it. He's not, a serial killer where he gets off on it. It just happens. It's just, I don't quite understand what makes him tick.
Yeah.
And killing someone is no different than finding a toaster in the basement, or finding a dead dog on the street, or finding a lady's, past due bill in the garbage.
Can you believe that I can tie this back into the Loveless?
Oh, God. Here we go. Yes, I can believe it.
I'm going to bring it up every time, because the Loveless character is supposed to do the same thing. There's emotion. There's no emotion. Right. It's just kind of, but that character is not intriguing at all.
No.
Whereas in Badlands, when we start dissecting that, the way that he's put this together, he has a little bit of that too. Like, okay, I just killed someone, but then I found a toaster. Like, oh, well.
Right.
But there's more intrigue to the way it's built.
Exactly.
So that's kind of and this is a real turning point too, even, of course, for Holly, even though it does show her have some emotion. She cries on the couch, and Kit basically is going to leave. He leaves that night, and before he leaves, he basically tells her, he gives her like an ultimatum in a sense. Like, you can call the authorities, but if you do, it won't be good for me.
Right.
And he's basically saying, if you call him, this is over between us. And that's the one kind of thing where he does he's not very manipulative, I don't think.
I don't think he's trying to be
But it sounds like he is in that particular line, because he's like, or maybe he's just giving her the option. I don't know.
To me, it just seems like he's kind of giving her the option, because he does care about her.
Yeah. And
I don't think he genuinely wants her to be hurt. And he just crossed.
But he can't console her.
Right, exactly.
So that's that emotionless, that loveless ticker inside of him.
Sure.
He doesn't have it.
For sure.
But then he leaves. This is one interesting. I love how this is done in the character build, because when Holly's crying and Kit leaves her and she's on the couch, and then it goes to this scene. She's walking up the stairs, and she has a cigarette in her hand. And just the vibe of the cigarette in her hand, that now there's a maturity growth.
Yep.
Even under this real crazy circumstance, she's now matured.
Isn't that interesting, that one little detail?
And he does it even more so in the next, as she walks into the room and she looks out the window and she sees the two kids her age, roughly, playing in the gutter in the side. And then it cuts back to her. So, like, I love that painting, which is like, she was those kids no more than 30 minutes before.
Yep.
And now it's shifted, and now she's older, and now she's different. And even though she's still a kid and she does kid things, she's now been forced to turn into something more mature and older.
Right.
And I just love how he paints that. This is the one thing about he paints these things and these images so well, and it's not so on the nose that it feels forced. It just feels right.
And I think I could be wrong. One of those kids is Charlie Sheen.
Oh, really?
He's an uncredited extras boy under the lamppost or something.
Oh, that has to be him.
It has to be him. Yeah. It's interesting. We've had two movies now with Charlie Sheen cameos. Being John Malkovich. Two very different cameos.
I did not know this, and now Badlands.
Exactly.
props.
Well, God, doesn't Martin Sheen look exactly like Charlie Sheen?
He does. You know what?
Throughout this whole movie, I just kept thinking, geez, that's his kid.
He does. You know what, though? But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think Martin Sheen, if you go prime to prime,
right?
I think Martin Sheen has the upper hand.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Like, if you took their photos from 25 and 25,
right?
And Charlie Sheen, when he was 25, was a good-looking dude, but I think Martin Sheen's got the upper hand. I mean, they allude to it, and I believe it. Like, he does have that James Dean look to him.
Totally.
And
totally.
It's alluded to a couple times throughout the film. That's funny, though. Charlie Sheen under the lamppost.
Yeah. I thought that was funny.
It sounds like a short film.
Yeah, it does. God, I can't even imagine.
We should write a short film called Charlie Sheen Under a Lamppost.
I don't think I want to see that one.
And it's all but it's just a backstory about him on Badlands.
No, I like that.
But this is a great scene. Now we know that's that turning point, right? It's that thing that Holly is now in on this same road as Kit, and she's going to take the ride with him.
Yep.
Basically, she's grown up. It's funny because if you look, that made her grow up faster than having sex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the sex thing was whatever. This whole turning point now is changing. It's a whole different life going forward. I put in my notes, innocence lost. That's where she lost her innocence.
Yep, definitely.
Even more so than the consummation of the relationship. Although that too.
I mean, murder's a pretty serious thing. She didn't seem to think sex was that big of a deal, so.
Yeah. And it's not when you're,
Well, plus it's the murder of her protector, her guardian.
Yeah.
Now she's out in this world by herself.
And the other thing there is now that there is no dad, like, not in a weird, creepy way, but now Kit kind of has to be that figure.
And he absolutely is.
Mm-hmm. He goes and records. So when he left her to be by herself, he was actually going to some store to record a suicide note on a vinyl record machine.
Yeah, that must have been a thing that was
in
around.
The late 50s or something.
In the note that he records into that thing is pretty dark, and I thought he was going to suicide her.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to go back and he was going to kill her and then kill himself.
He's also in his he kind of amplifies his character. Like he talks about how they kind of liked it.
Yeah.
Like
That's true.
He's kind of painting a picture already, and we get this later on too. He's kind of painting a picture about, I said serial killer to my wife, and you know how they kind of paint their pictures. They try to, like, the myth and the legends grow.
Well, they love it.
He's doing that in the record.
For
he's
sure.
He's trying to, like, build it already. Because in one kill, he's already kind of puffing his chest up.
And we see, and I don't even think it's necessarily about the killing for him. We see later on that he just wants to be important. And I think he's seeing...
I think that's the big message of the film.
Yeah, and he's seeing an opportunity here to where he can actually mean something. He can actually be someone. And it doesn't matter if it's a good or bad thing, if he's known for doing good things or bad things. He doesn't matter. He just wants to feel important and well-liked and appreciated, or well-known, I should say.
This is why I think it's so beautifully written, because in the beginning, he's a garbage man.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that. But there's always that silly stereotype about, he's aimlessly going. He's just a garbage man. He doesn't mean anything to anybody ever. He picks up other people's trash.
Right.
Now, as he's kind of puffing his chest up in this recording, in this suicide note, he's feeling of importance, even if it's something as serious as death.
Well, and Holly even straight up told him, my dad wouldn't want me being with a garbage man.
Yeah, at the very beginning.
Which automatically says
undermines
that he's not
him.
important. Right. Mm-hmm. Undermines him. So, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to build himself up.
And then he goes back to the house and grabs the gasoline, and then you realize and then Holly comes in with the narration, but you ultimately realize that they're trying to set it up and buy some time, basically burn down the house with that record playing outside on the front lawn, thinking that, this will buy us some time, that they think that it was a suicide, right? But then he takes the lamp, Did you notice this?
No, I didn't.
So as the fire's burning, he grabs a lamp. He's got a lamp. And I'm like, and I wrote in my notes, like, why take the lamp?
Why take the lamp?
What are you doing? Like, I don't know. It didn't make
Why
any
go
sense.
find a toaster? Yeah.
That's what I mean. But this is where Malick gets inside my head, because the littlest things, the toaster, the lamp, what does this mean?
Right. It means something to him.
I feel like it means something, and I'm just not capturing
Yeah, I'm
it.
sure it does. To me, it just gives a little insight into his character. The guy's just a dullard. He just doesn't. He's just as fascinated by a toaster or a lamp as he is with killing someone.
Right. And then they're off on the road. They basically are trying to elude authorities. They know that they've killed, or that he's responsible for killing your father. And they go on this little Swiss Family Robinson adventure out in the wilderness. They basically build a fort.
Well, and this is a part where I'm like, come on. Like, really? Now he's a master carpenter and he's building a tree house and they're living off the land. And
well, they're not doing admittedly, they're not doing a very good job. They're struggling to get by. They're picking little things of fruit, and like every time it shows him trying to fish in the river.
Oh yeah, he's
like
failing.
He's failing every time.
Yeah. But the way the narration paints it is if they're having this grand old time, except for the time she wants to drown him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also with that, it's kind of alluding back to that first person narration where it is romantic in her mind. Like in her mind, they're on this extravagant thing. It's this new journey that seems completely unfamiliar, and the world's now changed. There's kind of that romanticized approach to it.
Well, and she's talking about how they're building tunnels, and and this treehouse is just elaborate, and it's got different like rafters, and he's building little hutches underneath where he can hide from cops and stuff. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck? If he's some master engineer, why isn't he out being an architect or something?
You're thinking too logically. Not everybody has the opportunity. Okay.
Well, this is the point where I was like, it lost me a little bit. It took me out of it a little bit because it's like these kids. I mean, he may be 25, but mentally he's a child. Mentally he's a teenager, no older than a teenager.
He's her age.
Yeah, exactly.
Mentally.
Exactly. And so you're telling me these kids are just going to run away and they're just going to be fine out in the woods. It lost me a little bit here.
I didn't mind that. There's a I think it's completely plausible. It's strange.
I couldn't do that.
It's strange. You got to be a fucking Eagle Scout.
Yeah, see, I'm not an Eagle Scout.
So I got you. You come with me. We'll get it handled.
Man, if the shit goes down and the internet doesn't work anymore and I can't order my Grubhub, I'm going to starve to death. I can't grow food.
I only talk a big game. That was 25 years ago. I don't know shit now.
Yeah.
It's a timely thing, right? Like in the moment, I'd have been killing that shit.
Yeah.
And 25 years later, I haven't practiced any.
Right.
So
exactly.
like, I don't even know how to tie a square knot anymore.
Good point. I don't even know what a square knot is. So you're ahead
it's
of
all
me.
about practice.
Yeah.
And I don't have it anymore. But it didn't bother me. But there's a film called shit. Damn it. Kings of Summer.
Okay.
There's a film called Kings of Summer. It's about 3 kids. It came out maybe a few years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's great. And they basically just 15, 16-year-old kids just out there in the wilderness. And they build almost like a house. And it's just them living off the land, and KFC when they go back to,
right.
But like, it's cool. My point is, I think it's plausible for them to be out there. Although he is exceptionally, I think I get what you're saying, which is more the intellect, which is like,
yeah.
Not everybody has the opportunity to be a fucking architect.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying that, but the guy's an idiot.
Yeah, and then he has all these elaborate contraptions.
Right, exactly.
And that's what I meant about Swiss Family Robinson. Like, it did feel...
It totally did.
All of a sudden they were like on an island, in this case the wilderness, and like they got an organ in a tree.
Right,
and they're playing with
exactly.
it. It's that
and
whole...
they're sleeping naked in the treehouse and just catching fish and...
Everything's comfy, cozy.
Exactly.
But it is, I think he's just really, for me at least, painting up the romanticism of it. The idea is that like 2 kids in love, because she even says in part of the narration, she says, 1 week with the one you love is better than years of loneliness.
Sure.
Like, so that's what he's trying to allude to, this
for sure
moment that's happening between the 2 of them. And I love it. It's still what I love about it too is like good transitions. So like nice, and mainly during this part, he uses a lot of montage to create those transitions between scenes.
Right.
And I love how he did that. I mean, just really, really well done. Like a lot of beautiful shots of wilderness or like interesting bugs or like things that are out there, using a quick montage to go into the next scene. And I loved how he did that technically. I thought it was great. Although he's kind of like one thing that is funny is that Kit's character is like running around with that gun, the rifle.
Yeah.
Like a maniac.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's a bit of, that's a little bit Lord of the Flies for me. He's just like,
It felt like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Like it works for his character.
And also, now I was alluding to the montages, which I think are really well done. And then there's this weird montage of them dancing, with their feet.
Yeah.
And you hear the music, and it felt very hippie-esque.
Yeah, totally.
I think it was to the times of the 70s.
Right.
But he's running around like a maniac trying to catch fish. He with the gun in his hand. There's one scene where he just completely loses his mind, and he's trying to catch a fish, and he pulls the pistol out
my God.
and starts shooting the river.
It's just that seems more like him than building a crazy treehouse.
Yeah, there is a little bit of contradiction in that portion of the character. But as a result of him just like shooting 3 or 4 times across the river, some guy comes out and like, he can hear so he comes out and sees the two of them.
Right.
And that's kind of a giveaway.
For sure.
So basically now the idea is that they've found that they're busted.
Busted.
And this is where the kind of the subsequent scene is basically she's out there doing her thing, picking berries. I don't know what it was. And he's up in the tree, and he notices these group of guys coming with some rifles, some guns. And he does this like caw thing. He's like, ah! It's like that part to me was the only part that made me laugh, and not in a way that was meant to be laughed at.
Right.
But I just thought it was funny that like they had created this code.
They have this whole escape plan already planned out.
He did.
He did.
Once again, very elaborate for someone who initially you think doesn't have a whole lot of intellect.
I mean, he goes full Rambo and goes under the leaves and has a trap door so he can hide from these dudes. And right before that, one thing I wanted to say too is there's a stereo octagon. There's a montage. It's the 3D thing. Holly's looking at this little contraption. It's a stereo octagon. It's basically like a 3D. It's like the first 3D tool, and you can put photos on there and then push them further away, and it kind of creates an illusion of 3 dimensions. And while she's doing that, and the reason it's important is, first, I have a stereo octagon. Do you really?
It's fucking awesome.
Nice.
From 1904.
Oh, holy shit!
Yeah, it's badass.
Don't break it.
I got it from my great grandpa. And it's cool. And so it reminded me of that. But then really what's interesting, she's fantasizing. And because the stereo octagon is, she's looking at photos of like Paris and all these elaborate world traveler places. And she's fantasizing about the future life without Kit.
Right. Right. That's a good point.
Which I thought was so funny.
Well, she knows. I mean, she knows this isn't forever
at
with
this
him.
point. Yeah.
She knows.
And good on her. That's the one thing. She's not so disillusioned that she doesn't realize that this is not going to be, it's not going to be a forever thing.
And I don't even necessarily think she realizes because it's going to end in either going to jail or dying. I just think it's like, oh, she's not the man for me.
Yeah, she knows. Because she even talks about what her husband will be like and all these kind of things.
I wonder, is my future husband thinking about me right now? Like it's, you can tell, and she's kind of growing up while he's just staying stagnant.
Yeah.
She's kind of growing up throughout this whole thing.
She's maturing even more, and also kind of a young romantic in a good way.
For sure.
But then we'll jump. I just thought that was an interesting scene, and I liked how he put it together. He kind of builds a convention there too, because later he builds another montage. He builds a montage with the stereo octagon with all the worldly pictures as she fantasizes. And later he uses that sepia tint similarly when they're talking about all the authorities out there looking for them. And it's built in a similar fashion with the montage, and it's a cool convention.
It feels kind of like a little fantasy thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so they match.
Right, because
the conventions
you would have thought the Russians were invading, and like we're so wanted that everyone's looking for us.
Yeah.
And kids are being sent out to recess under armed guard.
Right.
Yeah,
And the technique, I just like that he's built that convention.
for sure.
And I even put that in my notes. I put Malick is an artist of imagery and sound to push story.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's like, it takes a certain technique and a certain intuition inside on how to do things and when to do them and how to place them. And being an editor, you understand this, which is like how everything's exactly positioned and every frame counts and all those, what you show, when you show, how you show. And I think he's a master at that. So it's no question that he would have been the guy that fires editor and do it himself.
Absolutely.
Also, you get at this point really, because now those bounties. So back to the caca. So Holly's out there doing her thing, and then Kit sees they essentially, we find out they're bounty hunters.
Yep.
And they realize that it's Kit and Holly, and so they're coming after him with rifles.
Were they all bounty hunters though?
I don't know that they all were, but it was
seemed
alluded
like one
to.
or two of them were a cop.
It was alluded to that they were bounty hunters from the voiceover that Holly gives later.
Because Kit told her that they were bounty
because
hunters.
Kit said so.
Right.
Up for discretion on whether Kit would
Right.
tell her the truth or not. And by the way, so he tells her to run. The plan is for her just to run. He'll stay back and fight these guys off. And he jumps in this contraption underground that folds over and no one can see him. And at the right time, when they approach him, he can pop up and shoot him.
Yep.
By the way, Kit, he's a hell of a shooter.
He is. Man, he hits his target almost every time.
He's a dead Aidi. He can hit them.
Yep.
He's a marksman.
Yeah.
It's like Ralphie in A Christmas Story.
Well, and see, this,
He's just taking dudes out.
Exactly.
He's like, okay, Black Bart. He's just taking. There's like 4 or 5 guys,
Oh yeah.
and he's just like boom, boom, boom.
Easy, no problem.
And also, what kind? And I'm not. I'm not a huge gun guy. I mean, I have a gun, but I'm not a gun fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
What gun is he using?
I have no idea.
It looks to me like a .22 rifle.
Yeah, I just thought it was some sort of rifle.
It could kill you, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But a .22 rifle also has less chance of actually not killing you too, because it's not a massive gun. It's not a shotgun. It's not a big gun.
Right.
If it hits in the right spot, it may not. So he's just blowing dudes out with a little. It looks like a .22 rifle, and the reason I say that is because he's a dead aim. If he's taking dudes out,
He's nailing guys throughout the whole movie.
Well, we get the later one that really gives it away is on the desert plains on the farm.
Yeah.
When the dude's his buddy Cato's running away, and he's like, boom! He's like 100 yards away.
Well, even on this one, I think one of the cops is running into the grass or something, and he just stops. He's chasing after him, and he just stops.
Yeah.
And just nails him.
Nails him
Perfectly.
Yeah, he's a great shot.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is Holly's run off, and now Kit's killed everyone. 4 or 5 bounty hunters.
Yeah. Like it's nothing.
This is where it becomes that vibe of like the Bonnie and Clyde thing, because now it's become a spree. Like before, it was just Dad, and they were trying to hide out from that.
Right.
And now he's killed 4 or 5 other people.
It almost feels like it takes it to another level. Because again, I went in blind. I just figured from after they killed the dad, they would just be kind of on the run and have to get out of precarious situations. I didn't realize he was going to kill everyone. I had no idea.
And it goes back to that idea of like he just takes them out like they're animals.
Yeah.
There's no humanistic quality to
Right.
it. He just moves forward.
Doesn't necessarily enjoy it, but doesn't dislike
doesn't,
it.
He and she even says that. Like he even says like I kind of didn't want to do that.
Right.
But oh well.
I mean, there are obstacles in his path, and he needs to take care of it.
So now Bonnie and Clyde are on the run.
Yeah.
Basically is how it's kind of set up in the story. And they go to try to hide out at the next spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the next spot is Cato. And Cato is, jumping back to the beginning scene, is the guy that said he wouldn't eat the dog.
Oh, is that Cato?
Yeah.
Okay.
That said he wouldn't eat the dog wouldn't eat that for $1,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
$2.
yeah.
He didn't say that, but you
Right.
can kind of, he insinuated it. And he lives out now on some kind of isolated farm.
Mm-hmm.
And they go there. Somehow he knows that's where Cato lives. And Kit and Holly go out there, and that's where they're going to hide out. He brings Cato a chicken as an offering.
I know, it's strange.
But maybe that's
Yeah.
what you did in the 50s. I don't know.
Could be, but again, it's more the animal
It's
stuff.
not like mass. agriculture and mass production of like it's
Right.
a different time. You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe that's what you did is like
Maybe.
eggs and chicken and like that's.
It could be. I mean, this is kind of rural country. But
I mean,
even
in the 50s, like today, like
Right.
we'll go to the store.
Right.
Like it just wasn't quite even. I mean,
No.
you had the store, but it wasn't the same thing.
Well, and it's when they were living in their treehouse. I mean, they had a chicken in a little cage.
Yeah.
And again, talking about dead animals, Holly comes out and says one of the chickens died. I almost stepped on it.
Yeah.
And it's just more
dead-
animal
yeah.
death.
Yeah. But he brings a chicken as an offering
Yeah.
to Cato, his garbage man or garbage buddy. Cato's a little bit suspect, I think. What's he doing? They start to walk out away from the house towards the field. But I don't get what they're doing. Where are they going?
I don't remember. I don't know.
I don't understand the concept, but
Yeah.
they start walking away, and then as they're walking away, Cato, they have lunch first. They have like a little
Yeah,
lunch.
yeah.
They do eat.
And she tells
And
that
she
weird
tells
joke.
the joke. It doesn't land.
But Cato laughs.
Cato laughs, and then Kit's like, "Is that funny?" He's like, "I guess."
He's like, "Isn't that funny?" I guess. After he's laughing his ass off.
Um,
I like Cato actually.
Yeah,
I liked him.
He's a little podunk,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's fine.
I just love these idiots, man. They're so funny.
But after that, it doesn't carry a whole lot of significance to me other than they share a meal.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they start walking out to the field. They're talking about pastimes, whatever. And then there's a little separation between Holly, Kit, and Cato. And then Cato kind of starts falling. He's gradually falling back even further and almost kind of starting to jog almost backwards, going to go away. He's just, I guess he assumes something, or he knows now. He knew? I don't. He must have known.
It sounded to me, or it looked to me, and I don't know, like he was trying to sneak away and call the cops.
Yeah, so he must have known that Kit was
he must have. He
on
must
the
have.
run,
Yeah,
and he had
for
heard
sure.
about. He knew about the dad, but he must have known about the bounty guys too.
Yeah,
and
for
everything.
sure, for sure.
Because as soon as he starts running off, this is where we get another marksman shot.
Right.
Because it's like forever.
Freaking American sniper over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
No question. He takes out Cato. He shoots him, and Cato finds his way back to the house. He's not dead. He's just been shot basically in the chest. And he goes back to his house and lays down on the bed
Yep.
and slowly dies.
And again, I mean, this is a friend of his, of Kit. So you would think if there was one person that he killed that he would feel bad about, it would be Cato. But he doesn't really feel bad about it. I mean, it's too bad he died, but whatever. It happened.
It happened.
He was gonna rat on us, so we had to take him out.
And then there's this. He's in there dying or dead, and then some random associates or friends of Cato show up to the house, a man and a woman, and they're asking for Cato, and Kit meets him outside, and they're like, "Hey, we came to see Cato," and he's like, "Yeah, he's sick, can't come out, Well, he told us to stop by today, and we'd like to go inside and see him. Yeah, I can't let you do that.
Yeah.
And then once again, this is where you start. Now, he's definitely a spree killer. He pulls his gun out again and is like, "Look, can't let you do that." You get the vibe that he doesn't want to kill those people either.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he leads them out there, and he takes the man and the woman far out into this field, and then there's it looks like some kind of tornado. What would it be called? Like a shelter where it's underground.
Yeah.
And he tells them to get inside. And they get inside, and then he locks the.
It's so funny to me.
He locks the. And even this is where you were saying before, like the woman asks on the way over there, like, what happens to us now? Because he's got him at gunpoint. And basically Holly's like, I don't know, whatever Kit wants.
Yeah.
She's almost a little void too at that point.
Yeah.
Or at least familiar enough with the idea of death that it is what it is.
Right.
And they get into this tornado shelter, and he locks it, and then he pulls it. And so you think, oh, he's actually going to let him go.
Right.
Without any kind of, he's just going to lock him in there, and maybe there's the potential they'll get out. Then he pulls the pistol out and sticks it through the doorway of the shelter and shoots like 3 or 4 times randomly. Then runs out back to Holly and's like, "You think I got him?" He goes, "You think I got him?"
It's like a little kid pulling legs off an ant or something.
It's very torturous.
It's weird. It's weird. I don't get it.
But this is where his character, it's just spiraling down.
Yeah.
And you definitely get the idea that there's a lot of psychosis going on.
Well, for sure, because he says, do you think I got him? She goes, I don't know. And he goes, well, I'm not going down there to find out.
Let's get out of here.
It's
And
like,
he steals their car,
You
basically.
have the gun, dude. Like, what are you doing? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think he's also kind of getting off on it now. That's what I mean is that before, with the bounty hunters, he kind of had to take him out. Otherwise,
Right.
they'd have probably shot him or
Right.
done whatever. These guys, he had it. And with Cato even, he didn't want him to, whatever,
Right.
telegraph back to the authorities that he was there. But with these two, he had them locked in the cellar.
It's almost
So-
like now he feels like a real outlaw. Like now it's getting real. Like
It's
now
gamey, though. It's gamey.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I'm having fun.
it's like I'll play with them a little bit, and like it's almost like this is what Bonnie and Clyde would do, right? They would do something
Exactly.
like this, yeah.
It's the outlaw starting to come out.
Right.
And so this is also where she starts to, and she's already kind of started, but essentially there's this digression on her part where she's like, man, she starts to slow, and it builds nicely, but then I think this is the starting point. And later on you start to really see how separate she comes and how she wants to separate herself from Kit. But I think that's a definite sign to her. He just shoots down the cellar. No, they end up stealing their car, but this is where they go to the rich house, right?
Yeah, that's right. And then Terrence Malick makes his cameo.
Is he a cameo in there?
Yeah, he's the
I
guy
didn't
who
notice.
comes to the door at the fancy house, and he's like, "Is so and so here?" Well, he's sick. He's down sick. Well, he called me yesterday. It's the dude is saying.
Oh
well, he
yeah,
called
so
me
let's
yesterday.
explain. Yeah, so before we even get to there, they show up, and you hear a narration from Holly talking about how Kit thought it would be a good idea to go to Rich Man's house,
Yeah,
instead of going to the town,
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
groceries. And so they go to this house. They knock on the door, and it's this nice home, and the maid answers and lets them in because she's a mute,
yeah. That's
and
very strange.
lets him in, and then he basically holds him up, and he kind of lives. It's fantastical that way. The idea is that he's like trying to live this life of importance and this life of wealth.
And you could tell from the second they walk in that they're going to enjoy it here. I almost thought they were going to set up camp and kind of.
I thought they were going to stick it out longer.
Yeah,
too.
me too, for
I did.
sure.
And he kind of likes it, and he actually goes to while they're there. So there's a maid, and then of course the owner of the home, this rich fellow, and this is interesting too, because in contrast to what happened before, Kit actually, and I'm jumping the gun a little here, but he actually doesn't kill the maid,
Right.
or the owner of the home.
Right.
But he does lock him in like a pantry.
Which is interesting. At this point, you would think, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting decision. I'm not sure what it's trying to say about his character.
Well,
and
I'm not
story,
so sure he even, like with the people in the tornado cellar or whatever it is, I don't think that he really even wanted to kill them, because if he wanted to kill them, he would have just killed them. He just wanted to play around with them a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why I felt like a little kid playing with bugs.
Yeah.
And with these guys, I don't think he enjoys the killing, because then he would have killed these people too.
It's almost like he's just playing with, like a kid playing with food.
Yeah, it's kind of what
I don't
it
really
what
want
it
to
feels
eat
like.
it, but
right.
whatever. Like, it's just a...
Like, he had to kill the cops or the bounty hunters. He had to kill the dad because that was an obstacle. But these other people aren't really obstacles, so he's not outright just going to murder them.
Right. So it almost shows an interesting sense of, I don't want to say compassion, but...
Yeah, and it's not morality.
It's not compassion, it's not morality, but there's something there. I can't
Right,
think of the
right.
word, and it shows that.
He's not completely hollow as a human being.
But right before he puts him in the pantry and then lets him go, or leaves him alive, I should say, he's having fun there, and they have this dictaphone. It's where you're speaking to, and it's recording. And once again, he's recording like words of wisdom. You listen to him, he's like, he's talking about, like, listen to your parents, kids.
Yeah.
Listen to your teachers. Most of the time they know what they're talking about.
Oh my God.
Like all these things that were quote unquote words of wisdom. And then at the end of that, all that stuff, he just is like, but we had fun. It's kind of interesting because it's almost like he's keeping, he's got the one with the vinyl recording device, and then he's got this dictaphone, and he's like actually recording.
He's trying to keep a record of what's going on. He's trying to live up.
He's trying to immortalize himself.
Exactly. He's trying to build himself up as a super important criminal, and he's got a word of wisdom to the kids.
And then he gives them, before that too, he also gave the maid like a grocery list to go get groceries in town and bring him back, right? And so after he's ready to let him go and he's walking out, he's like, you should keep that grocery list and sell it as a souvenir.
Oh my God.
Because it has his handwriting on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, he really is beefing this up.
He totally is.
It's interesting. It's kind of fun. I mean, for a movie, it's a fun character to watch as he goes from nothing to growing into this, not egotistical, I wouldn't say, but very confident.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think he's been confident
He has the whole time, but even more so now. Like it's increased from what it was before.
He's become, he fancies himself a celebrity at this point.
Right. And that's what we're going to get into on my final thesis. And then they're basically on the road. So they leave. He doesn't kill the maid or the owner. And they hit the road. And then it's just this kind of sequence of events of them traveling along, talking about how they're going over, like they're staying off the main roads. And they're basically eluding all the authorities. And then that montage that we talked about earlier, where it's kind of like a newsreel montage in a sepia tint that talks about how everyone's after him. And it's this world, or not this world, it's this nationwide manhunt to find him. And
they're so scary and dangerous that children and old ladies are terrified to go outside type of thing. Yeah.
Very dramatized.
Yeah.
And they're really just on their way to the Badlands. They're in the middle of nowhere in northern America, from South Dakota to Montana, and they're just driving through the oil fields and all the different ranches and staying off the road and getting gas from drip gas, I guess is what it's called. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that was a thing.
There's like the oil rigs that are pulling oil from the fields, and there's excess gas that drips off the pipes, getting it from there. She even talks about how they would hit cattle, or he once in a while he would hit a cattle with his car, and that's how they ate. They'd fry up the cattle. So then there's this funny these sequence of events are happening. There's a funny montage, and this whole time it's narration with Holly, and she's kind of once again in a journal fashion going over the routine of what's happening through the whole thing. And I actually like it. I think it's well put together. Sometimes voiceover can throw you off or it doesn't fit right. And I think
sometimes it's a little too convenient.
It's too convenient, but this fits into it really nicely.
Definitely.
And then there's this shot of him shooting a football. And
what did he say? Oh God, it was something funny.
I can't remember the line.
God, it was funny though. Just everything about his character is hilarious to me.
Now, this whole time too, Holly starts to divulge in these kind of diary-like voiceovers, the first-person narration, that she wants to get out of this thing. She's slowly and surely even more and more confident about how, in some ways, they're growing apart, or even more her than him. She's growing apart from him. She's not really as infatuated as she was before. Right. She's starting to get a better grasp and understanding about what's really going on in terms of who he is, and she kind of wants to get out of it. She can't wait to leave for good. Yeah. She's like, I'm out of here.
She's itching.
She's itching. And during all this too, there's like these sequence of events where all this is transpiring. This is once again where the cinematography is beautiful.
Yeah.
Some of the sunset shots and from a filmmaker's perspective, just gorgeous shots.
Well, and I haven't seen any other Terrence Malick films, but he's very famous for the cinematography and the gorgeous images. It almost feels like this kind of country was made for someone like him to come along and capture it. Yeah, because it's gorgeous. Because
there's there's a few of them, but there's this beautiful shot as they're leading, and it talks about them as they're leaving South Dakota, and it's the campfire. and they're out in the campfire, and then the next shot is this shot of the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, just really
It's
beautiful images. Those
beautiful.
are not easy images to capture.
No.
And he does so good at it.
And to do it with 3 different cinematographers, too. 3 different DPs.
3 different DPs. And so anyway, this sequence of events happens, and they're on their way. They're trying to get to Montana, essentially. They want to get away from everything, and maybe the idea is that Kit can find a job and kind of go undercover, so to speak, or what's the word? Find an alias to work as somebody else and not be who he is.
Just this idea
pursued.
that they're just going to disappear into society.
Well, she even tells him, like, they're going to ask for your ID.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll worry about that.
Well, and that's kind of his philosophy in life, right? Like, it's just, I'm going to do this, and I'll worry about what happens later.
Exactly. And so they're on their way to but this one other thing I wanted to note here is, like, throughout, the music's kind of been random.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
There's some random selections of music all the way through, like certain styles and genres here, and then certain styles and genres here, and just kind of a lot of variety that, like, lends itself into some inconsistencies in terms of, of what's going on. I mean, beautiful imagery, stories good, characters are good, everything's good. The music, though, is a little, I was unsure.
It's disjointed.
I was disjointed.
For
I was
sure.
unsure.
For sure.
And it was, I guess, more noticeable during this sequence of events as you're going through her narration from South Dakota to Montana. What I find, did you notice this? He keeps promising Holly food.
Yeah, he's going to get her a steak dinner.
He's going to get her a salmon, like trout.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's going to
trout.
catch her a trout.
Catch her a trout. Yep. And she's like, "What are you talking about?"
Is that his idea of success? I don't understand. To be able to go and get a steak dinner.
I don't know. I don't know. Once again, I say this again. Malick's doing something. I don't know what it is. If I don't like, maybe he's subtextually talking about something else.
I'm sure he is.
Can we talk about the awkward kissing scene?
Which one?
The one when this sequence of events is they're traveling from South Dakota to Montana.
Yeah.
And they're in the car.
They're in the car.
It's like, this is really awkward.
It felt, which is interesting because they had a lot of chemistry throughout this whole thing. But this is the one part where it just didn't feel, it almost felt like in The Loveless where they're in the motel room and it was just an awkward position.
Yeah. They just didn't seem into it. This is where the chemistry up to this point's been great. Like, they have a cool dynamic, but then the one part where they're supposed to have even more, just like the kissing was weird.
It didn't feel right.
They're not good kiss. Like, it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say in this sequence, once again, is he's leaving time capsules.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I actually loved. I loved that he was so into his own grandeur and own self,
right,
that everywhere he go, he'd like get a tin can and put like little what are they called?
Like knickknacks and
little knickknacks and things, and he'd put them in a tin can and kind of bury him. He was leaving almost essentially time capsules. And in Holly's first person narration, she talks about how, you know, if people find it, it'll be it'll be something.
Right,
someday.
right. Well, like people might come back 1,000 years from now and dig it up, and wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
And these are kids like dreaming. They're having It's just it's the whole thing is just if you gave kids guns and a car and just let them go wild.
And also, she alludes to what's out there as they're driving across the country and talking about how Cheyenne had bigger and better lights than she'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And so you really get a more context of where they're from.
Right.
Because Cheyenne's not a big city.
Yeah.
Not that it's small, but it's not like bigger, bright lights.
If that's the biggest city you've ever seen, you have not seen any cities.
You haven't seen any cities. But I think part of the time capsule thing, too, is that I think at this point for me, he's so caught up in it all, he's delusional.
Oh, definitely.
Like
definitely.
he's always been a little off. We get that, but like now it's increasingly so that he's building his own celebrity. That there's delusion.
He's created a narrative that he wants to believe so badly that he's caught up in it and he believes it full force.
Yeah,
and he's kind of at the beginning she was convinced of it too, but the more she's maturing, the more she's seeing that it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And he just can't get out of that bubble.
He can't get out of it because he still likes her the same way he did at the beginning.
Yeah.
And now, and it's evident through her narration that she's obviously growing apart from that. And he's not just delusional to their relationship, but just delusional to his own self and being. She's more independent, and he's almost in some ways, he wants her to still be attached to him.
Oh, definitely. And even the way they approach life, she's a dreamer. Like, she's a dreamer. She wants to go and visit all these cities and do all these things, and he doesn't know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
And so it is cool to see her kind of outgrow him.
Yeah.
It's fun to see this moron kind of get lost in the dust.
Yeah. And this comes to clear decision when she, after they've gone through this whole sequence of events, driving from one place to the next, and they're running out of gas, and they run across somebody now they're in Montana, and they're out there in the Badlands, and they run across some guy, and Kit's like, I need gas for the car. And the guy's like, I'm not going to give you any gas. And Kit's like, okay, I'll trade you my car for
my car, my Cadillac.
And and the guy's not having it. And then we hear the chopper, and essentially the authorities have tracked him down,
found him
through the chopper, and he basically says something to the fact of like, I knew it was going to be today.
Yeah.
And he's almost excited.
But she also mentioned something in the narration about dying, where he says something, he knows it's going to end with dying or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he's excited because this is his moment.
He's excited. And so he runs behind, as the helicopter's coming in, he runs behind the truck, and she runs with him. And he's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And this is where, like we were saying before, she's basically like, no.
She's like, I'm going to stay.
I'm going to stay. I'm done running.
Yeah.
I'm done being part of this. And he gets pissed.
This is the first time we've seen him really show any emotion.
Because he even comes out from the truck. He's kicking the dirt, punching, throwing air.
I thought he was going to hit her.
Air punches. He's mad.
Yeah, he's angry. He's furious.
And then his plan is like, fine, if you're leaving, he's still holding on to hope that she'll change her mind, because he gives her a plan of where to meet him.
Which is interesting, because this is the first plan he's had at all.
Otherwise, it's just kind of driving to Montana and hoping he can get a job.
Exactly. Yeah. What was it, 1968, Meet Me Here on New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
It's just interesting. It
was very specific.
He still can't give up on the dream of being with her, like being a Bonnie and Clyde.
And I loved how this ended, because it didn't end Bonnie and Clyde like where they both just get shot out.
The whole time I was expecting that to happen.
I kind of thought it was, but I liked that she's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because you kind of want that from the beginning. Because
Right.
at the beginning you're like, don't
go on a walk with him, please, for the love of God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's 25, you're
Right,
15.
exactly.
Go back and throw your baton.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it, kid. So you're kind of supportive of the decision that she's like, finally, boom, she's not going to keep going on this charade that he's taking her on. So he goes out there, he gives her the plan, and then he goes out there and jumps in the car, and
because he kills a
well, that's right, because the chopper lands,
right,
and then he runs for it. She's hiding behind the truck. He runs out for it, and one of the authorities jumps out with the rifle, starts shooting. They're doing a little shoot off,
and this is the first time I see him miss one shot.
Except for he nails that cop.
He does, but he shoots at him one time and misses, and then hits him.
But even then, I looked over at my wife and I was like, he had a 6-shooter, and he nailed this cop from 100 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it was
right.
That's when you know he's a dead eye.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a hell of a shot.
He missed his calling.
Takes the cop out cold. He's dead. The other cop, the pilot, jumps out, goes and checks on him. But in the meantime, Kit jumps in the car and starts speeding off.
Yep.
And then Holly basically comes out, hands in the air like, I surrender. That's it.
She's done.
She's like, I'm over. Yeah. I'm not going to try to do anything too crazy. And this is fun because I love how he did this. If this budget was only $300,000, I don't know how he filmed such a cool car chase scene.
Yeah, I was wondering, because there's a part where
I thought it was cool.
They make a quick turn, He makes the turn, but the cop car tilts and then comes back over. And it's done in one take. I don't know how he did it.
It might have just been lucky. But I just mean the whole way, everything, how it's shot, how they edited it.
And it was cut great, too.
And how it was put together, like beautifully done in the car chase. And I thought, okay, for sure. So now the police are after him. They're on an old dirt road in the middle of nowhere. It's just two cars. One car's been tipped over. The other car's following. And I love how this goes down. It went down the way I would never have expected. I thought, okay, it's going to be a shootout.
Right.
Something's going to happen to the car. It's going to continue to run out of gas, whatever it might be. I love that he is in the car. He looks in the mirror, in the rear view mirror, and kind of like looks at himself kind of in a vote of confidence of who he is, and then puts on the hat.
Yep.
Puts on the hat like, okay, I am James Dean.
Yep. Yep.
I'm James Dean. I'm driving my car. I'm running from authorities. I'm James Dean. And so, but then it's kind of interesting because he basically stops the car.
I don't think it's that he's tired of running. It's time for him to get his notoriety.
That's what it is, exactly. He stops the car because as soon as he gets out of the car, he's got the hat on. He's kind of prepping himself, trying to make him. And then he starts building a monument of rocks.
Which is hilarious.
I loved it.
He shoots the tire because he wants to say he got a flat tire.
Yeah.
And he builds the monument of rocks to say that's what busted my tire. But if the car had hit that, they would not be stacked up.
No, he didn't build the monument of rocks to say the tire. He said, this is what I love about it, because he got out of the car and shot the tire. And then when he was building the monument, he was like, this is where they caught me.
Oh, is that what it was? That's interesting because I thought he said to the cops, like, this is why you caught me. But he said, this is where you caught me.
This is where you caught me.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I love.
Okay.
Because
that makes a lot more sense.
Once again, it goes back to our theory that we were talking about before, which is like he's trying, as he's doing the dictaphone and the vinyl recording and all these things, we had fun.
Yeah.
He's like amplifying the story. And now he's even saying, here's the spot where you caught the most wanted fugitive in America.
Right.
You know, and that feels like it would fall into a spree killer's attitude.
For sure.
Which is like, I'm something bigger than, you know.
And then on the way back where he's talking to the cops, he's like, you boys are heroes today.
He's building them up.
He's like, you boys are, and don't you think that I won't tell everybody when we get back there. I'm going to let them all know that you're heroes.
By the way, though, before they jump in the car and they've got him, they cuff him. This is where you guys caught me. And then they start walking back to the car, and the one cop starts shooting off a couple.
What the fuck was that?
He starts shooting a couple rounds into the air. But what's funny is, in the car later, he asks him that the first time you ever had to shoot while you've been on duty, and he's like, no.
Oh, that's why he did it, because he wanted to actually shoot the gun.
He wanted to shoot the gun.
He wanted to shoot the gun. That makes sense.
It's the only time he's ever shot the gun.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. But on the way back, he's pumping him full of confidence.
Yeah.
He's like, man, you guys got me.
Yeah.
You're the ones. And they're building into it.
Oh, yeah, they love it.
They love it.
They love it.
And so, and then it turns into this whole kind of, the ending is basically, it shows Kit he's cuffed up.
He's kind of in chains.
It's one of those chains that are attached to someone else that they can pull him back or whatever, kind of keep him at a distance. But at this whole time, he's leaning up on the airplane, and all the authorities are surrounding him, and he's throwing. You want to comb?
Well, they have a goddamn army there.
Yeah,
like that. And that's the funny thing is, I doubt the army was out looking for him. I'm sure that was just the most secure place they could take him. But it's just funny. And they're asking him questions. Where are you from? And and then he asks. It's almost like a celebrity. It's like,
100%.
Where are you from? Tell me where you're from. Tell me what your favorite thing is. You know, like it's. And he's tossing out souvenirs to these guys.
Combs, and whatever he's got in his pocket.
Yeah, you want a lighter? I've had this 10 years. You want this?
You want this? And
who wants it? I want it.
I want it.
Yeah.
You hear people going, yeah. Because they've caught the biggest fugitive in America.
And he's having
he loves it.
He's having a blast.
He's eating it up. And he's gone from the garbage man to the most important man in America.
And this is the first time we see him happy. Like truly smiling
He's
happy.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's genuine.
Yep.
It's genuine. And so he gets on. He goes and meets Holly. Holly's of course caught, and they're going to fly him back to prison and do the whole spiel. But while this is happening, and they're flying in the airplane going back, you hear Holly's voiceover, and then you get a little bit of context about what happens to Kit and what happens to her. She marries the son of the lawyer who defended her in the trial. And 6 months after the trial, Kit, of course, is sentenced to the electric chair, and he's killed.
Yep.
It's this great shot, though, while they're in the plane, and you're hearing this voiceover, and you just see him look at Holly, and then Holly looks at him, and she actually gives him like an endearing smile.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's a cool ending.
It is a really cool ending because you almost, like we mentioned, I thought it was going to go a complete different way.
For sure. And I think pretty much anyone who saw it thought that as well.
I think it is a fun film overall, and I love all the way through, strategically done and put together, beautifully shot, great chemistry. I think it was great acting. If you were to rate this particular film, give me your summary and your overall consensus of the rating.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, for sure. It helped going in blind. I did go into this with some trepidation just because some of the first time filmmaker films we watched have not been stellar, to say the least. But I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't a movie I'll watch again and again and again, but as far as Terrence Malick goes, I think this is a good starting place, and I'm actually that's going to be the next thing I do is watch all of his movies because I'm really interested. It was done well enough for me to say this is his first effort. I'm very impressed, and I really like it. Martin Sheen was just great.
He's great.
And I don't know how someone who's so uninteresting can be so interesting. And to me, I think that's just straight up performance. He did a great job. Sissy Spacek was great too. I think she was a little bit, I don't want to say overshadowed. I think she was maybe a little underwhelming, but that's exactly how it should have been played.
Yeah.
So maybe she's not getting the recognition from me that she deserves, but I think she played it perfectly. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I would probably give it 7. I had something for this. I can't remember. 7 stars. I don't know.
7 combs.
7 combs. Seven.
Some souvenir that he would have given her.
7 time capsules.
There you go.
Out of 10.
Because, by the way, one we neglected to mention is the time capsule of the balloon. There's a balloon time capsule where they put stuff in and they float the red balloon away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So he has this fascination with preserving his history, which is interesting.
He's just trying to leave his mark on the world,
Exactly.
I think.
Yep. 100%.
And it's hard to do that as a garbage man.
What's the film about?
I think the film is really kind of about growth. And it's as absurd as it is to say, I think there is some growth there for Kit as well. You see him, and it's very twisted, but he does go from being a nobody to being a somebody. And Holly achieves her goals as well. She gets married. And, we assume that she's going to go off and be able to travel because she's, a lawyer's son. So the implication there's probably some money there, and she'll be able to travel and see all these places. So I think it's about growing up more than anything and kind of coming into who you are as a person.
That's good.
Be it good or bad. I think that's what it's about.
That's great. So you got a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
On the film. But it has also led you to want to jump into maybe another Terrence Malick film. Though, I mean, most of his films that I've seen, I don't even know that I've seen them all, but The Thin Red Line is great. That one, I think.
Yeah, that's the one I've heard most about.
Yeah. Tree of Life you should watch. It's beautifully done, so cinematography-wise, you'll be astonished.
Cool.
A couple pieces of trivia on this one that I think are interesting. What's funny is we actually have some trivia, and there's some notable things to mention here on this film, whereas last podcast with the Love List, there was 0. It wasn't even on Rotten Tomatoes, Alan.
I know. That's how bad it was.
So Rotten Tomatoes has this at 98%.
98. Wow.
Yeah. From the critics.
Doesn't surprise me.
90% from the audience. So it comes in hot.
Interesting.
It comes in hot. A couple pieces of trivia here. Sissy Spacek met her husband on the film. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh.
Jack Fisk, he was the art director. So you were talking about this before, and here's what's even cooler about the Charlie Sheen thing. It was Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez.
Oh, really?
The two boys under the lamppost.
Emilio Estevez was there too?
Uncredited.
Mighty Ducks?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Uncredited, both play boys under a lamppost.
That is awesome.
That is awesome. This is their, so it's Emilio and Charlie's feature film debut.
Wow. That's awesome.
That is cool. And here's one you were talking about. The actor originally cast as the architect that rings the door at the rich man's house he didn't show up.
Oh, is that why?
He just didn't come to set.
Okay.
So Terrence Malick played the part himself. Malick later wanted to reshoot the scene with another actor, but Martin Sheen refused to redo the sequence with another person.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder why, because that was such a short little thing.
Here's an interesting one. You know, one thing we didn't talk about too much was the murderous tones to the film, of course. Serial killers, spree killers, that kind of thing. I was rightly corrected by my wife, by the way. I said...
That's not a serial killer?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's spree killer.
My wife... I'm like, why is that, A, not surprising, and B, scary?
I had a feeling she might correct you on that one.
It's not a serial killer. It's a spree killer.
Actually...
And my wife listens to the podcast, so now she'll know that I told the truth, even though I already knew it was a spree killer.
You got to use the right terminology, man.
No, I didn't know. The film's tagline inspired the Zodiac Killer, who had been lying low for years to write a letter to a newspaper denouncing their flippant attitude toward violence in society by running such an ad. I don't know what that makes any sense or if it's even true. That sounds farce.
Wait, it's saying that it inspired the
Yeah,
Zodiac
because in
Killer?
1959, a lot of people were killing time. Kit and Holly were killing people. And this was inspired the Zodiac. I don't know if there's no validity to that.
Yeah.
Fallacy.
They don't even know who the Zodiac Killer is.
I know. So I don't know how. That's a bad
Where do they
trivia
get that?
piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Call them out on that one. But now, one thing it is that it is based loosely around, like we mentioned before, Charles Starkweather and Carol Fugate, I guess, who in 1958 they embarked on a murder spree that horrified the country. So it was pulled from that storyline. I don't know where this comes from. Once again, I can't validate all of these trivia pieces, but Martin Sheen still believes that this is his finest film.
It's great. It's great. I haven't seen every Martin Sheen film, but...
Well, I mean, you know, immediately, not too far after this, you think Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
So this, you know, that's pretty good.
If he's putting this one over that's high praise.
I love Apocalypse Now. This is very cool, and this is why it gets such high applaud and praise. In 1993, 20 years after its release, the film was selected for preservation by the American Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. I think it's actually all three of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's well deserved.
Both this and Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets debuted at the New York Film Festival, and Warner Brothers picked up both those films. It also was the closing film at the festival, which is kind of a spot that you want, and apparently bumped Mean Streets.
Oh, did it really?
And Scorsese had good things to say about the film after he watched it at the festival.
So he wasn't too scorned.
He said something about it being a genuine piece of American cinema. So,
which is more than he said about the Avengers movies.
No, those are American. They're American theme parks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Sissy Spacek later said that working with Terrence Malick completely changed her whole attitude toward filmmaking.
I wonder, does it specify whether that's in a good way or a bad way?
She reckons she would have had a much different career if she and Malick hadn't crossed paths. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I would imagine even if they had butt heads, it was probably for good.
Well, the only reason I say that is because it sounded, just from the stuff that I read, it sounds like this was a nightmare production and no one was happy with Malick. I don't know anything about the guy.
Yet a masterpiece is painted.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
like,
well, the reason why, and I hope I'm not butchering this, but I think the reason why the first DP quit was because a stuntman was hurt and he was burned.
Severely hurt.
Yeah.
Like not fatally, but very severely injured.
And rather than pay for a helicopter to take him to the hospital, Malick just had him drive. And I guess the hospital's super far away. And so the DP quit in protest.
I had heard something or read something similar. And it was during the scene where they burned the house down.
Yeah.
That's what I had read too.
So, and also by the end of the production, from what I heard, it was like Malick, his wife, and like one or two other people on the crew, and that was it because everyone else bailed.
Yeah.
So I just wonder. I don't know anything about him. I don't know whether he's good to work with, bad to work with. This is just a bad experience, but I love because everyone's been on set when it's been a nightmare. It's kind of fun to read horror stories.
Yeah.
When you're far removed from it, it sucks when you're in the middle of it.
I don't know. I think it's interesting to think that if it was such a nightmare, how this rises like a phoenix. From the fire.
For sure.
The injury thing's pretty severe to me. Like of course you're on set, like safety's first, right? So that's a real interesting tidbit to know is like, oh man, someone got severely injured on the film.
Right.
Like, okay, wait a minute.
Right.
Kit was originally supposed to be 19. But his age was changed to 25 as Martin Sheen was 32.
Yeah, I was going to say. He looked good, but I don't think he could play a 19-year-old.
No. Shot over a period of 16 weeks. And like we mentioned, Terrence Malick is an uncredited editor on the picture, along with the director, the producer, the writer, and just about everything else. It's a hell of a film to make. The film was purchased, like mentioned, by Warner Brothers for around $1 million. This is kind of interesting. It was released as a double bill back in '74 with Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, I read that. That's an interesting double billing.
It's not a good one, and fans were not happy with it, and it caused Warner Brothers the marketing team to go, maybe we screwed this one up.
I wonder which one played first.
They rebranded it and then billed it with something else.
God, that's funny.
And here's the interesting thing. Yeah. And also, Terrence Malick started writing the screenplay when he was 27. So he filmed it when he was about 30.
It's good. I mean, you can tell he took his time and he knew what he was doing right out the gate. To me, it's just very impressive anytime a first-time filmmaker can kind of hit a home run.
Yeah, I agree. Like when you're always impressed when they come out, especially when you hear all these stories that we had just talked about.
Right.
Don Johnson auditioned for the lead role of Kit.
Did he?
Yeah.
Nah.
No. Martin Sheen for sure.
Don Johnson would have chewed the scenery too much, I think.
Yeah. The film is included on Roger Ebert's greatest movies list. So
cool.
Take that for what it's worth. And then also it's part of the Criterion collection. That's kind of an interesting thing. So kind of do a quick summary on the piece and talking about kind of where my rating sits on it. This film's interesting to me because I think it speaks quite significantly. I think it has a lot of parallels. I think it's a timeless piece. And the reason it's a timeless piece, I know some of these pieces that we've watched, they don't hold true to today's culture and society. What I find absolutely intriguing is this piece almost resonates more culturally today than it did back then.
Sure.
If you think about spree killings and these essentially massacres, in a sense, our weird glorification of mass killings, giving them a form of notoriety.
Right.
Kids feeling like, and this gets really heartfelt in the sense that kids feeling like similar to Kit in the sense that they're not wanted, that they feel like outcasts, they feel like they're aimlessly wandering, and then the result being something really, really tragic.
Yeah, the feeling that doing something like this would make
them important.
Right.
Exactly. That's why to me this, even more so than some of the other reasons, is that this film resonates quite significantly, I should
Definitely.
say, for today. Also, I found it interesting that the way he made it, where he could make a film about a spree killer and about violence and death and murder with next to no blood, and have it rated PG, right? If this film's made today, it's almost like, how do you do that in the way that we contextualize movies?
Right. Well, I don't think you could even show any blood in PG-13 right now. Like, if they were to make this today and try and make it PG-13, I don't think you can show even any blood, like in the gunshot wounds. Because you see, like, you go watch, like, The Dark Knight or something. People get shot. You see the clothes kind of explode, but there's no blood. But
it's also, maybe it's not just the blood. It's the way that the violence is displayed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna watch it like it's a lot more. It's different today than it was. I just mean, how do you make a movie about a spree killer and murder and do it as a PG movie?
Right, right.
So I found that to be interesting.
But also, PG means something different today than it did back then.
It does, yeah, it does a little. It's kind of grown a little bit in some regards. But even looking at the film, it's pretty mild.
Definitely.
And you
definitely.
looked at something today with a spree killer, it's not going to be that
no
that soft
no.
in a sense. And I admire him for that. I think it plays into it quite nicely.
The characters were more interesting to me than the spree killing.
I agree.
Than any of the murders.
Yeah, he's great at building these characters that are, and even in the Tree of Life, and you go watch it, in a different way, it's really, it's kind of internal. It's kind of like these very personal. The characters are like, they're real.
Right.
And he does a good job at building characters that way. I really like the movie. I think it's really well done. I think it's really well put together. Once again, in contrast to some of the other ones we've done, like, I'm blown away in this sense that he goes out there and has all these the friction that happened on set and all the things that transpired, but makes this really beautiful film and is put into the National Registry, which is crazy to me. That puts it in its own kind of category. Really liked the film, had a fun time with it. I would watch it again. It's not one, like you said, I would probably watch repeatedly, but I would watch it. And I would suggest that anybody who is interested in kind of the Malick films or doesn't have a whole lot of understanding about the Malick films or haven't seen it, go watch it. So I'm going to come in out of 10. I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10 on the film. And I would encourage anybody to go kind of watch it. Any cinematographers who are specifically interested in camera work, you have to watch it. And also, I think just directors and writers from the storytelling perspective.
For sure.
So this is Badlands by Terrence Malick. You should go check it out. Alan, thanks for bearing with me again on another one of these podcasts.
I love it, man. I love it.
This
is a fun movie too.
This was a good one.
It's much more fun than doing The Loveless.
This was a great sequel, follow-up, I should say.
We got to get to one where we're butting heads a little bit. We got to find one.
Yeah, we're always gearing towards the same direction, whether it be good or bad, or hate or love.
We'll find something. Something.
Yeah.
I like a lot of weird shit, so.
Well, that's what I mean. I think most of these movies up to this point I've chosen.
That's true.
And I've seen them all, with the exception of The Loveless I hadn't seen. I actually, by the way, on a side note, I teach an intro to film class at the community college.
Mm-hmm.
Badlands is in my watch list for intro to film.
Nice.
Because it's that good.
Yeah, I can see why.
Here's what we need to do. You need to then choose the next film.
All right.
So that we're bringing some variety to this beyond what I think.
I think I already have it.
Okay, good, perfect.
I already have it.
But tune in next time. This is the Tame Aperture podcast, talking about all things movies. Join us at www.tameaperture.com. We're also streaming on all media platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. We're all over. So go check us out and tune in next time, and take care, everybody.
The Tame Aperture podcast is produced by Dutch Angle Pictures in association with Studio B Productions. Listen, watch, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and YouTube.